Welcome back to the farm, everyone. I've got a feeling that we are dangerously close to planting some corn today. It's going to be warm, sunny, and as you can already hear, breezy, which is the trifecta for drying ground and getting a nice, good seed bed. Lucky's doing his part to harrow out the ground with his rope. If Lucky wins, we're planting corn today. Made up my mind. Hey, no cheating, Murphy. Murphy, do you have money on this? You're meddling. That answers that. And there's 10 minutes we're never going to get back. Our Pioneer 34 A98s that have been in the ground for almost 3 weeks now, planted late March, are cracking through the ground in spots. I showed you that yesterday. We've got a lot of them right here at the cusp of pushing through the top little crust of soil. Today ought to be the day where the Army emerges. As I mentioned, I would not be surprised if today is not the day where we start our first few fields of corn planting. The reason's not agronomics, it's not weather, it's not calendar date. It is one principle. Our neighbor Kevin worked some ground last night, and now, just out of the laws of farming, we also have to work ground today. And if we're gonna work it, probably gonna plant it. His worked up really nice. And he was dealing with the same winter annual pressure that we've been fighting because of our lack of a fall herbicide program. I think with how deep he worked this, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see both field cultivators hooked up by noon today, if not earlier. Looks like Kevin ran an older Deere vertical tail, pulled it with the tried and true 8960. I bet that thing was a beast at burying those winter annuals. And we know so just looking out at this field. Those discs are really good at chopping and incorporating winter annual weeds in fields. The easiest weeds to work, though, are ones that aren't there, so we may have to explore that this off-season. I'm ecstatic to announce that today's video is sponsored by the best seed company in the industry, Pioneer. Pioneer and I have partnered to promote their next generation of corn herbicide and insect tolerance trait packages. This newest trait package, which you can see right here in this P1742 PCE, has been affectionately deemed PowerCore Enlist. Say goodbye to your traditional double stack Acre Max corn. Now you have PCE. Here's another next generation. We have Pioneer 13777 PCE. For those of you who are wondering, Pioneer branded PowerCore Enlist corn is an advanced combination of exclusive high yielding genetics, unsurpassed flexibility, and protection against above ground pests. The trait package, of course, is the big announcement from Pioneer, but you guys know from last fall my excitement of this next generation of Pioneer hybrids. We had that Pioneer 14830Q that out-yielded a competitive Big B brand hybrid by almost 30 bushels an acre. That's a lot more money in your pocket. I think Pioneer has really kicked it into high gear with yield potential and plant health. If you're not putting some of these strong Corteva genetics on your farm, I suggest you at least look into it, follow the link in the comment or on the video, and see what Pioneer can do for your farm. If the ground does in fact work today, like I think it's going to, we are going to be putting in some of this Pioneer 117-day PowerCore Enlist corn. I am going to be continuing to drip feed you some information about what Pioneer has to offer. We're going to get back to work for now, though. Oh man, I must have said something to jinx us, because over the course of the last 30 minutes, if not less, it's gone from sunny, great drying weather to a little bit lackluster based on the forecast. The wind should help. Maybe the sun will pop back out.
Daddy.
Look at this cute batch of strangers. What are you doing?
Hi.
Just on a little walk?
Yeah. Where are you going?
I'm going to check a field. Oh, you guys got your John Deere colors on. It kind of cooled off, didn't it?
Yeah, it's really windy walking the other way.
We're going to the white shed.
What'd you say?
We walked to the white shed.
Oh, you walked to the white shed where are beans up?
Almost.
Almost. Okay, well, don't let me keep you.
Is it our house?
I do see our house. It's just up the road. All right, well, I'm going to go check a field. You guys have fun. We are standing about 3/4 of a mile south of the main farm on a field that typically dries very quickly, combination of light and darker soils. It has really good natural drainage without additional subsurface tile, because deep down in the soil there's a lot of gravel. As a matter of fact, that's actually a gravel pit over there right on the edge of this field. Those are water wells for a local water cooperative. We have a high water table here, ton of groundwater, and this farm, ironically, even though it has high groundwater, dries quickly because of the gravel. I'm guessing that one thing a lot of non-farmers struggle with understanding and comprehending is that every single field, even two fields relatively close to each other, behave and act differently. It's like you and I, we've got our own different personalities and quirks. Some fields drain quicker, other fields are a little bit more swampy. Some, to be productive, need a ton of surface drainage work. Others need a ton of subsurface drainage work. And there are a few out there that somehow, by the grace of God, were created to just be natural marvels. Not a lot of those, but they do exist. We have a couple of them. This field has already been worked once, if you couldn't tell visually. We just had to work it to kill off some of these winter annuals. I sound like a broken record, but we got to figure something out with those things because they're just eating our breakfast and lunch all spring. I don't know. That's close. It's kind of falling apart. I don't think I'm in the wettest spot of the farm though, so it doesn't really give us a super accurate gauge of the worst area. I think that would plant today. As a matter of fact, I may go get a field cultivator now. It's really the only way to actually know is to try to work it. Oh, there's a souvenir, look at that. I bet that would look really good in a tire. Oh, there's something else, look. I'm on fire right now. Oh, look at that, there's 3. Take all these to the scrapyard and I might earn myself 1/4% of a cent. To summarize my ramblings, basically it's April. If everything looks good as we're working it, we're gonna plant. If it looks bad, we're not gonna work it because we don't want to compromise our seed bed just to get things done when we're not even behind. I think it's time for a little less talk, a little more action. Let's go ahead and hook the field cultivator up to the 9620R for seemingly the 100th time this season and go try out that field. This is your fault, Kevin. You made this happen. If this works up nicely, we're geniuses. But if it does poorly, we're gonna blame Kevin for inciting a riot here locally. I'm gonna put the true set a little bit deeper in the ground. Now, why is that on 1/2 inch increments? We'll do 2.5 inches, see how that works. Probably pull some moisture up. Probably don't need to actually work it as deep since we've already worked it once. May back it off to 2 inches, not 2.5. What do you guys think? Looks pretty good from up here. I did back it out to 2 inches. I'm not really sure. I'm not the corn field cultivating expert. Jeff will set it how he wants it if we decide to work this or not. I'm really liking the way this is working up. Not that I've gotten out and kicked around in the dirt at all. While I'm out here scouting, I'm actually going to go west just 1/4 mile and try some corn stalks. Maybe we can plant some beans today as well. Less likely, but we ought to check. It's not going to be entirely perfect. There will be spots, a shade on the heavy side. Don't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater though, so if 95+% of it looks good, we're gonna run. Like that spot, don't look at that spot. Just crossed over into the corn stalks. This is a little darker soil. I imagine it's gonna be heavier. I don't know that it's gonna work, but just wanted to see. That really doesn't look horrible from up here either. Soybean stubble getting worked heading into corn always works better than corn stalks, especially because this stubble was worked once a couple weeks ago ahead of some rain. I'm not gonna lie and say there aren't any wet spots. It is really close though to what we're looking for. Definitely some chunks on there, nothing horrible. I wouldn't call it perfect, but I would call it close. Not to perfect, but plantable. There are the corn stalks. They don't look bad either. we may be able to plant some soybeans this afternoon too, just to get some stuff done. Had Jeff come out here. We're going to evaluate how this is looking. We're going to look at the corn stalks too, and if he gives me the green light or we both mutually agree that it'll work, probably just start working it all. We might even hook up the second field cultivator for Katie. Jeff and I talked it over after looking at this field and the corn stalks next door. We're going to go ahead and work the stubble, let it air out for a few hours, and then plant it unless we get into it a little further here and decide it's too wet somewhere else. The corn stalks were not as dry as they looked from the cap. They are not going to go today. It's too early to work them that wet and try to plant soybeans. So as of right now, we just have a couple of fields going into corn I think we can plant, which I'd be happy with that outcome. Are you happy with how it's working up?
Yeah, looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm probably gonna have to blur this out because this is top secret. You're not supposed to see it. Dirt never lets you down with how it works up. That spot right there looks pretty fantastic. I have to put some of that Pioneer 1742 in the ground here shortly. Because we only have a limited selection of fields that even look plausible to run today, probably won't even get the second field cultivator hooked up. It's just an unnecessary hassle at the beginning of the day, and then at the end of the day with the storms rolling in, we'll unhook those. So just one of those things. But it'd be nice to get the ground worked quicker so it'd dry faster. I don't know, it's not really worth screwing with. This is drying pretty good as it is. How's that field working up, Jeff?
It's a mess.
Because of the weeds or because of the moisture?
Chickweed. Gonna want to work this twice or just let it lay here and plant into it? What's the plan?
That's above my pay grade. Does it need work twice?
That's the planner decision. I'm a track cultivator runner.
I'll have him come look at it when he gets out and about. If I understood Jeff and the field cultivator correctly, not working up that well, it's not a moisture issue, it's all those winter annuals that we've been talking about for the last month. Just another reason, feather in our cap, for why we're gonna have to start spraying in the fall. It's just getting out of hand, it's hard to control. If we keep getting rains, get pushed back into May, I mean, they'll be even more of an issue because they'll keep growing. I'm gonna go ahead and move the bean planter out of the way so we can get the corn planter out, get the GPS booted up, and then if and when we decide to pull the trigger on putting some seeds in the ground, it'll be 2/3 of the way there. Out, booting up a little bit. Now we go back to waiting for another hour or so. Oh yes, that first field is an absolute onion bed out there. Worked up beautifully, drying off on top. It's pretty much ready to plant. The second set of fields aren't going to be quite as pristine. We didn't get them worked earlier this spring. I don't know. We have to defer the decision on 2 tillage passes on this to the boss because I really don't have an opinion on it. There's rain coming later this afternoon, so if we're gonna be working it twice, we're gambling a little bit on opening up the window for compaction from a heavy rain. If we destroy that soil profile on top, yeah, it'll make a pretty seed bed, but it'll sure be susceptible to turning into concrete. Given the timing, we may actually have to get the other field cultivator out to have this work twice. Dad's thinking the same thing I am. He's got the 1742 PCE in the back. Time to go load it up. If that's gonna bother your shoulder, I can load it all. This is going to take all the bags to store inside out of the wind, because with the breeze we have right now, those will be a county away in just a few short hours. Dad's pulling the 9460 out of the barn. Katie said she can run the other field cultivator for a few hours, so she'll join Jeff over there working that stubble, try to get those weeds knocked down a little bit. Maybe we can plant it today, maybe we can't. Load it up, headed to the field, plant some nice Pioneer power cornless corn. Let's get after it, folks. Chris pulling into the field so he can be in the way, a classic. Plant. We got to engage the PTO. Turn this switch on. I guess that's a new feature. Now when we get out, it won't shut off. It's different than the remote I had to use last year. It's a new software addition they added, which is pretty nice. Markers on, left, because I like to ring on my right. Then we want to go to setup, EPG on, nice. We're just going to prime the units. There. Fill. If you look closely, there's nice little red Pioneer seed corn popping out there. Targeting 35,000 plants per acre, 180 pounds of downforce margin. Looks like a ride quality could be a hair better. Otherwise, not looking bad. Other than a wet spot or two there, looks good from the tractor. We're gonna hop out and check seed depth. It's a little windy outside, and just gonna preface this by saying we're looking for 1 3/4 to 2 inches. Can't even find it. Right around 2 inches. I'm pretty happy with that. Implement steering and boundary track combined with RTK doing their job. This is actually working out brilliantly. So far, I've only planted 5 acres. Shouldn't speak too soon. Here comes Katie with the second field cultivator. We're gonna get some work done today, at least on the dry fields. You can tell on a field like this weather is just completely wicking the moisture away. This ground, there's not any moisture in the top 2 inches, but once we seal it back down with the planter, overnight that moisture will come back up. So that's not a concern, and it's gonna rain. No, there wasn't almost a collision right there. Totally not. I would never plant to the road.
What are your settings set to your disc, your angle, basket, fore, aft, and wings?
Those aren't the right settings, Katie. That's a vertical till. Is that what pulled up?
Yes, that's definitely on. That's what's pulled up.
You're running 2.5 inches deep, so I'm on 3 over here in these weeds, but I'm gonna switch back up to 2.5, and then my basket's on like 600 down pressure or more.
Everything is running perfect right now, except for I've noticed row 2 right there, 2 or 1 in from the outside wing there is kind of plowing. You see the gauge wheels are pushing a lot of dirt. It's not like they're riding on top of the soil, they're burying through it. And it's fairly visible over here, probably not on the camera. So I'm gonna hop out and see what's going on. We had new downforce sensors put on as a late warranty deal. This is an older planter now, 6-7 years old, but he replaced all the sensors for some factory defect from ages ago. And I wonder if it's related to that replacement. Nothing really looks out of place. Oh, there's your issue. Our gauge wheel depth thing is out of whack. Well, that's actually much more important than a sensor, although sensors are important too. The good news is when that's broken, it's planting too deep. And technically, you really can't plant corn too deep. You can plant it too shallow, but too deep's a little rare. He has a weird way of showing up right when I need him, and then driving right by when I waved him on. That's what it's supposed to look like, and that's what this one looks like. I got it back into place, but I don't have the ring that goes in there, the snap ring. I may have to send Dad to John Deere. Dad is gonna run and rob one off of my planter so we don't have to go all the way into John Deere. I'm just gonna plant back to the other end. If it falls out again, it falls out. But like I said, you can never really be too deep with corn, but you can't be too shallow. Odd that that would fall out. I can't recall that ever happening before. While we sit here and wait on the boss to bring parts for his planter that I get the luxury of running today, let's talk a little bit more about Pioneer's PowerCore Enlist seed corn. I sound like a broken record on the yield department. Pioneer is bringing elite genetics to the table with this new trait package. If you've not tried some of Pioneer's new offerings, for me that's in the 108 day to 117 day range. They are absolute grand slam hitters. You gotta get a few bags on your farm. Traits only exist to protect the genetic yield potential. There's a lot of pests and predators out there looking to feast on our corn as it's growing throughout the year, and traits like the PowerCore Enlist help protect against that. This really is one of the most flexible lineups on the market. In terms of insect protection, you will get 3 modes of action to counteract some of those heavy-hitting insects. Those would be your European corn borers, your fall armyworms, and your southwestern corn borers. There is actually one mode of action that helps protect against black cutworm, which is something we deal with on our farm sporadically. Not every year, but it does happen. Pioneer's major seed corn competitor and trait offerer only has 2 modes of action that fight against those 3 pesky insects that I mentioned, and nothing to help fight against the black cutworm. So you're getting more traits, more above ground insect protection here early on in the spring and throughout the growing season, which is hard to pass up on for a trait package like this. Okay, here comes the boss. So I'm gonna hop out real quick and fix this, and then hopefully get back to planting. Okay, that's fixed. He just grabbed one of those pins off of the bean planter that we're not using right now, and I assume he'll go to John Deere and get a new one. Looks like the row is still plowing though, probably because that sensor's not acting right. We talked about insect traits, but let's highlight the Enlist weed control system that's offered in this PowerCore Enlist corn. Of course, you get the Enlist, the 2,4-D choline, glyphosate, glufosinate, and some FOP herbicides. The FOPs, the FOPs, are an interesting addition because those are selective grass killers, which normally would kill corn and volunteer corn. An example product would be Fusilade. The interesting thing about this addition is that if you're struggling with Roundup resistant grasses in your grass corn crop, you can apply some of these FOP herbicides and get some termination of those troublesome grasses. There's really not a lot of great options in corn to control grasses that are Roundup resistant once they're emerged, so having this additional tolerance is super useful. You've also got the flexibility of being able to apply 2,4-D choline. Normally you cannot apply growth regulators that are not safe to growing corn. They're sensitive to it, although it won't kill them, it can cause issues. The Enlist weed control system is a whole farm, neighbor-friendly solution that works for corn, soybeans, and cotton. As many of you know from following the channel for years, I'm a big fan.
Those corn stalks have dried out some, Andy, back there.
I mean, probably some, I don't know. I'm a big fan of Pioneer seed corn and seed beans. You definitely cannot go wrong planting those strong genetics and trait packages on your own farm, especially with this newest generation of hybrids. I definitely encourage all of you, even if you just want to learn a little bit more about PowerCore and Enlist corn and their other trait offerings they're bringing to the table, to follow the link in the comments or in the description. You'll get a really good idea of what Pioneer has to offer for 2025 on your farm. It is absolutely miserable outside in terms of the wind. Temperature is magnificent. It's not planning if you don't have a violent breeze to go along with it. Had to hop out, top off the tank to finish the field. This 117-day Pioneer PowerCore Enlist corn was only available to us in bags, which we'll take what we can get, honestly, for genetics with this yield potential and protection. However, they are kind of a hassle to deal with once you're used to working with pro boxes, mini bulks, whatever you want to call them. Gonna finish this 60 acres up and then keep planting. I see the rain out there to the west, so maybe short-lived. 60 acres in the back, just gonna head about quarter mile to the east and plant some more of this 117-day corn. Man, this thing folds fast. Looks pretty nice planted. 300 bushel corn maybe. It's not out of the realm of possibilities if it rains. 250 is probably a much more realistic expectation, but we'll take as much as we can get. The genetics are there. Those poor soybeans that have been in the ground for 3 weeks might need a little shower to soften up that top crust. Hard to predict when a heavy rain's going to come on some of these lighter soils. They pack way down. I think they're all right, but a little shower wouldn't hurt. I genuinely have no idea where the field cultivators went. They kind of snuck by me when I was planting the backside of that other farm. I don't think we had a lot more ground that was even close to working, so maybe at home. I guess I can check the op center once I get this ringed. There's an interesting find that I'm glad I didn't run over. Not the golf ball, the piece of metal sticking straight up. I popped in on Operations Center to see what was going on. I'm planting down here. The 9620 is over here, presumably Jeff running that, and then I think the other 4-wheel drive went at home. They probably went ahead and unhooked that one in preparation for the storms that are forecasted tonight. I did actually just get a rain notification shortly, so I'm just not going to look at the radar because there can't be rain coming if you don't even look. No, bad rain, stay away. We don't need you right now. Call me crazy, but it worked. Rain slid past us and it's up to the north now. Probably headed towards Windling Farms. I know a lot of you are wanting to know about the planting tractor, the 8R340. What do I think of it? Specifically, the added power and the Command Pro IVT at this point. The added power is harder to gauge because the farms we're planting right now are pretty flat in terms of topography and they're lighter soils, so they don't really pull that hard, if you kind of understand what I'm speaking. Your darker soils tend to pull harder. You get a little bit more slip, and the implement just takes more force to go down through the ground. And of course, I've got a row not planted. The minute I go to talk, no an issue. I was out of seed, but my seed sensors never went off. Usually it says low. Unusual. Okay, just got the planter loaded back up with enough bags to finish the rest of this field. A little bouncy out here from those winter annuals. Working it twice was a pretty good idea. It would have been horrific if we hadn't done that. Back to the topic at hand, which is plantability, horsepower, the things I was talking about before we ran out of seed. Just for fun, I dialed up the speed here on this farm, 13 mile an hour. Gauge actually shows 13.3, and right there, that bar that goes left to right, we're about maxing out the horsepower. That last little rectangle, I believe, is the boost power. So rated power is the left 90% and the right 10% is boost. On this flat light farm, pulling 13 mile an hour, and not quite running out of power, but we're definitely knocking on the door. Just in case you guys are curious, disregard the ride quality here because that is a result of our sensor not working here. We got a downforce issue on row 2. Looks like it's plant fine. The first 30 or 40 units of that 1742 PCE weren't the seed size and shape that we like. We really try to get medium rounds if we can, and this is why. You put medium rounds in ExactEmerge planter, you're going to be about spot on. I mean, I'm running 13 mile an hour, over 13 mile an hour right now, and it claims it's doing 19.8% singulation with a 0.08 coefficient of variance or variation. I can never remember what it is. Either it's doing a darn good job planting at these speeds, or it's just shooting so much corn out that it's just guesstimating what's going out there. I mean, hard to beat those numbers, and at 13 mile an hour, you're running 94 acres an hour straight line. long story short, the actual physical properties of your seed, beyond just yield potential, do matter for planting, or at least for good-looking numbers. That may not make any difference for yield. Our Pioneer dealer does a really good job at helping us get medium rounds because we've realized those are the best thing to plant. Like I said, could just be a numbers in your head type thing and not actually have any value difference, whatever measurable impact on yield. I don't know. Dad's more particular about it than I am. I just like to go fast. To get back to my first point, the horsepower does make a difference. 30 more horsepower doesn't really sound like a lot, but like in a game of football, every inch counts. The implement steering's been a nice addition. It seems to keep us straighter, or it could be the horsepower and the independent front suspension on the tractor. I don't really know what to merit it to. And then of course you've got the Command Pro IVT. This thing is absolutely slick, ladies and gentlemen. I was a little weary of it, you know, for the last couple months. I would love to have this on my planter. I prefer the power shift for a long-term tractor. I think it's just a simpler, more reliable, robust transmission system. However, this Command Pro IVT is super awesome. It's easy to use. You don't even hardly have to move your feet, use the clutch. Everything can be set up right here. It's gonna be completely lost on my dad, poor guy. He's just not the most adaptive to technology like this. Someone like me though, this is slick. I would recommend this if you're in the market. I'm fairly surprised Kevin didn't come and plant this today. Might need touched up with something else, but the ground was dry enough. Looks like the storms are brewing. We made it home without getting wet, which is always a victory with the planter. I just took a peep at the radar. I wish I hadn't. Rain's brewing to the southwest, like 20 miles away. I hear the thunder roaring. We're gonna go ahead and start pulling some stuff in. Peggy and then Jeff's still working ground over west. It's unfortunate because he's probably gonna get wet. Yeah, we're all back in there. Oh wow, it suddenly started raining and I don't even have the planter in. Shouldn't have bragged about this not getting wet because immediately got it wet after I said that. So I'm gonna storm through there.
Huh?
Talking to my people.
Your people.
There comes Jeff. He's got the wipers on. this, and if you look very far in the distance, that is a superbly heavy rain. You can tell it's heavy rain because it looks like the sky is literally opening up. Never mind, I fixed it. I just had to turn it on and off. Who would have guessed that works for cameras too? Based on that thunderstorm warning, it is going to miss us right here. It's going to hit some of our other farms. None of them are planted though, so it is what it is. Not going to cause any damage other than delaying planting some more. Oh, look at that. The sky's clearing above us. I don't know if that's good or bad. Those beans could use a rain. Thankfully, it's been extremely underwhelming so far. A couple hundredths of rain at the most. One more strong line about to come across. Surely we don't leave this without a couple tenths. Help our beans come up, but at the same time, definitely keep us out of the field tomorrow. With that being said, I think I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on this video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed following along as we planted some corn, put some of that Pioneer PowerCore Enlist 1742 in the ground. I have high expectations for those genetics and that trait package. I'll be documenting the progress of that here on YouTube and on my Instagram, Facebook, all throughout the growing season, so make sure you stay tuned in. One last reminder, if you think that Pioneer has something they can offer you, or you just want to check out their lineup, if you're purchasing competitive seed corn or seed beans, follow the link, go to their website, kind of browse through what they have. I promise you that you won't be disappointed by putting some of their strong genetics on your farm. As always, everyone, I greatly appreciate every single one of you continuing to tune in and support the channel. Your viewership means the world to me. I'll catch you all in the next episode. Until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!